Hi there, and welcome to the next in our series of practical simulator sessions. Now, this is the second in the series where I'm looking at the Association of Ringing Teachers Learning the Ropes course and what we can do with a simulator to help to teach a student into the second level, which is the foundation skills. Now, in a previous video we looked at learning the ropes 1. In there's not an awful lot that you can do with the simulator apart from use it to provide some feedback when the learner is first beginning to learn to handle a bell. But in level 2 there's an awful lot more that we can do using the simulator to assist with the training. Now, there's lots and lots of details in the Learning the Ropes teacher's guide about all of the relevant parts that you can do for the foundation skills. I'm just going to pick the main ones, the practical parts of it, to look at what we can do with the simulator. Now, I have Virtual Belfry running on the laptop. I have a foot switch on the floor which I've reprogrammed. I'm just going to quickly show you how I've done that and how you can do that to do things other than start, stop and go. And then we're going to basically look at some of the foundation skills. For example, we're going to look at ringing rounds on 3 bells. You can see I've got 6 on the screen, and there doesn't appear to be an option for 3, but I'm going to show you how you can get 3 ringers on the screen. We're then going to look at listening. We're going to look at the parts of striking, so how we can speed up and slow down rounds with a ringer so that they have to speed up and slow down accordingly. So that's rhythm and striking. We're going to look at moving 2 bells, so just literally swapping a bell. Look at how we can do leading, so in other words how we can look at the hand stroke gap and make sure the student understands exactly what that is and how it can be how you can use it to control the rhythm of the ringing. We will look briefly at how you can do call changes with Virtual Belfry, and then the other part really is ringing some of the basic methods, so things like kaleidoscope, Mexican wave, but those are actually covered in other videos in the practical simulator session, so I'm not going to do anything too serious on those. You can actually, if you look at those other videos, you'll see how to set them up, how to do the notation, and basically how you can use those in your training. So let's get started. First thing I need, of course, is a ringer. So I need to get one of those. And as if by magic, I have a ringer. This is my long-suffering wife Jill, who's actually been ringing for 20 odd years ish, and is incredibly competent, but she'll provide the student for doing this particular video. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at ringing rounds. Now, at the moment you can see that the screen is set up for 6 ringers. What we want to do is to change that to 3. So we'll start off with just 3 ringers, and we'll put our student in as the middle ringer of those 3. Now, you can see on the left hand side here that there isn't an option for 3 ringers. You can have the front 4, but you can't have 3. If you want to have a specific selection of bells on Virtual Belfry, what you have to do is go to the ropes menu on the left hand side, and there is an option at the bottom here called Show All Ropes When Stood. When you show all ropes, you will see that this particular tower has got 8 ropes, and the 2 here are tied up, they're not used. And the way that you can select your bells to be available or not is to simply press the shift button and click the ones that you want or you don't want. If you then turn off Show All Ropes When Stood, you've now got 3 ringers to work with. The selection of the ringer is exactly the same as it is in any other. So we want bell number 2, so we're going to click on bell number 2, and we see that we've got the blue line at the bottom, and we can now ring as 3 bells. Now at the moment this is set to 2 hours 30. We've only got 3 bells, so that's going to be reasonably slow, but that is actually the slowest that Virtual Belfry can handle. So if we try that, I've got my foot switch at the moment set to start, stop and stand. So what we're going to do is we're going to start that, and hopefully our student will pick up the fact that she's got to follow bell number 1, and we'll give that a go. Okay, this is called the 3 blind mice for obvious reasons. And you, as a teacher, can then advise on whether they're early or late. And of course, keeping an eye on the style. I couldn't possibly criticise my ringer. Okay, so we're going to now stand the bell.
Stand.
And we can now then add another bell in. It's always better to start with a lower number of bells. It's very easy to pick out your own bell. So if we move to 4 bells, simply by going back into the ropes menu and then adding another one in by holding down the shift key, we've now got our 4 bells. It'll be a little bit faster because we're not going to change the speed setting or the general speed setting. So we'll move the ringer this time to bell number 3, give them 2 bells to get some sort of idea of the speed. So look 2, treble's going, and she's gone. Now if your student's having trouble in actually hearing their own bell, there is an option under the settings menu to have own bell at full volume, and this is very useful to ensure that they're starting to hear, so it becomes part of the listening exercise. Now, as you start to get the rounds better and you want to start improving listening, then what you can do is you can ask the student to maybe look away and to start counting in their head. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If they refuse to look away, you have a computer. So you can actually close the screen. That will be the equivalent of when you're in the tower using the exercise to where you actually turn round at backstroke and face the wall. Okay, so once your students got into ringing with 4 and they're listening, you want to stand?
Stand.
You can now go through and continue. We're going to go straight now to 6 bells. So put the other 2 back in, and there we go. We're now back to 6 bells, and what we need to look now at is speed changes, because obviously learning the 3 basic speed changes or the 3 basic speeds of ringing is really important as soon as you start to looking at chord changes. Now, to do that, we have to physically change the speed as the student is ringing. Now, if you have a student that's maybe a little bit new, or they are not confident on the rope and you want to be standing by them when you're doing this, it's quite difficult to have you run across the tower, get the mouse, make it a bit faster and come back again. So what we can do is we can actually set up our foot pedal for to speed up and slow down. Now on Virtual Belfry, the right and left cursor keys will speed up and slow down the ringing accordingly. So what we can do, if we look at the software that's used for the foot switch, at the moment you can see that key 1 is set to plus, which is start, key 2 is set to bob, and key 3 is escape, which is an immediate stand. So if we change key 2, and instead of having it as a single trigger, which means that it just sends whatever the character is once, we set it on the right hand side here to a continuous trigger, and we set key number 2 to left. We just push the cursor key. We go to key number 3, which is the right hand pedal. We clear that, set that to continuous and put it at right. Continuous basically means as long as you hold your foot down on the pedal, it will keep on sending the character that you've selected. So it's like holding your finger down on the key. We then say save to key, and it says it's successfully done that. So now we have the ability to actually change our speed as we go. We can test that simply by looking at the peel speed here. If I push the right hand key, the left hand key, sorry, it will increase, and you can see it's increasing there. So we're at 2 hours 45 now, which is about right for 6 bells. So let's give that a go. Our left hand foot pedal is start. So if I've got it right, I can say look to trebles going. Okay, so we've got our student ringing. And she's just about settled down now. So what we can now do is we can say, right, we're just going to speed up slowly. So we can just push the foot pedal, and we're now slowing down. This is a good exercise, obviously, even for experienced ringers. And then we can push the right hand pedal and we can actually speed up. One of the nice things with Virtual Belfry is it's not immediate. The speed actually ramps up and ramps down until it gets to the speed that you've asked for. So we're now at 2 hours 40, which is quite quick. And we can then slow it down, go to 3 hours. Okay, and stand. And of course, I haven't got a key on my foot switch anymore for stand, which I'd forgotten about, so I have to press the escape key on the keyboard for us to actually stand. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at is leading. Now, leading doesn't require any particular speed changes as far as the simulator is concerned. We're only interested in what happens when we lead. So if we change the bell to bell number 1, so now the simulator is acting as the treble, we have under settings a setting here for the hand stroke gap. Now by default that's set to 1. Now we can increase that to make it more distinct for the ringer if we want to. So what I want to do now is get our student here to ring rounds but as the treble. Now the first time that a student starts this, you'll have to give them the instruction to look to trebles going and gone, and you've got to match that. So actually it's much easier when you first do it to actually allow a couple of rounds and then they can join in once they've got the rhythm. So if you can join in when they on the second or third time round. Okay. So again, we're particularly looking for the listening for that hand stroke gap. If you want more visual feedback, you can flip to the blue line view. You can see that the gold line is showing where actually you are. And it's very obvious here that what's happening with our student is they're a bit early when they're doing the hand stroke gap, but then they're overcompensating and they're late the next time. So you can see there's a red, blue, showing late and early. Now if you want a longer or a shorter hand stroke gap, you can stop.
Stand.
Okay, you can actually stop and go back to the settings and actually adjust the hand stroke gap. So if we go to 1.4, which is the longest that we can do, and say look 2, put you back onto the ropes. So, longer. Okay, so you can see it's very easy to change the hand stroke gap and get the student to understand what it means when you want a longer hand stroke gap or a shorter one, and they can practice that leading. Okay, stand. Okay, so we've briefly looked at ringing rounds on 3 bells, 4 bells, 5 bells. We've looked at changing the speed, setting up the foot switch to increase and decrease speed. We've looked at rhythm and striking and leading and the hand stroke gap. The other thing that I want to quickly cover here is chord changes. Now, Virtual Belfry allows you to do chord changes, but what it doesn't allow you to do is to have it actually tell you what it's going to do. So as an instructor, you have to tell it the chord change that's going to happen. Now, if you call up or call down, you can set Virtual Belfry in the settings to actually cover the options for calling up or calling down. So I'm just going to put the hand stroke gap back. So here you can say you call up or call down. Now, in our local tower, we call down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it on calling down because it's what we understand. And if I can just show very simply, I'm going to put Jill onto bell number 3 again. And what you do, the way that you do call changes is you select the call change setting here above the where you would normally select your method. There are some call changes, some specific ones that you can select if you want to do it automatically, but for manual use, it doesn't matter which one you set, just set one of them. And when we ring, when we want to change a bell, so for example if we want to do 3 to treble or 3 to 1, then if you hit the 3 button, it's the number of the bell, not the place. That's the critical thing. Then at the next hand stroke it will change to the call that you've just generated. So let's just give that a quick go and show you. So I'll do it a couple of others around it, and then I'll move Jill in position as well. So if you look to, treble's going and gone. So if I say 5 to 4, sorry, 5 to 3. Five to 2. So now Jill's ringing bell 3 in 4th place. So say 3 to 2. She missed that one. It's not a perfect solution because sometimes you actually end up doing another row before it actually makes the change. But it is possible to do it, and with a bit of practice you can actually use this to practice call changes with your student. Okay, so if we say stand. So there's some of the basic parts of learning the ropes. Part 2. We've looked at some of the foundation skills. There's lots of other things that you can do with a simulator. As I said at the beginning, we've got the kaleidoscope, Mexican wave, the basics of doing those in other videos. So please go and have a look at those. I hope this has been useful. If it has, then of course please subscribe. And if you have any comments, please leave them below. Please don't comment on Jill's handling or her striking because I'll never hear the last of it. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon.